Now, in spite of that, the British government is removing all 11 countries in Africa from its travel red list. Previously, only UK citizens or residents arriving from those countries were allowed to enter the United Kingdom, and they were forced to quarantine in a hotel. The health secretary said with community transmission in the UK, the travel restrictions were less effective. To talk more about all of this, let's bring in Daniele Hamamdjian joining us from London. And actually, Danielle, we're seeing other countries do this as well, lifting those bans, because as we just heard Dr. Bogosh say, you know, the horse has left the barn in many ways.
There's no point to it. In the words of the health minister here, Sajid Javid, there's already community transmission. In fact, in London, Omicron makes up about half of infections in the capital. There's already community transmission. It has already spread too widely. And so the benefits of the restrictions do not outweigh the economic downside or other downsides of the restrictions. And so you'll recall the words of the UN Secretary General at the time a few weeks ago when these travel restrictions were enforced, when the travel bans were announced. He said that this was a travel apartheid, a very strong term, of course, and many African countries saying, or South African officials were saying, we are being punished for doing the right thing here. And so they will no doubt be relieved. Their tourism industry was just reopening. And so 11 countries, among them Angola, Botswana, South Africa, Nigeria, they, as of 4 a.m. this morning, were removed from the so-called red list here in the UK.
Yeah, it is interesting to note that the UK, though, is bringing back or implementing things like masks indoors and vaccine certificates, when here in Canada we've been living with them and for the most part accepting them if we want to participate in some of those activities. But there's a lot of pushback in the UK. I understand Boris Johnson's facing a rebellion from Conservative MPs. What can you tell us about that?
This was the biggest rebellion of Prime Minister Boris Johnson's premiership yesterday. This was a package of measures that did end up make it through the House thanks to the opposition, but it's never a good day in the office when you need the opposition to get your stuff through the House. Nearly 100 Conservative MPs voted against these measures. That's nearly half of his backbenchers. Now, a minority of them are opposed to it for ideological reasons. They believe that they're draconian measures, but for a number of MPs, this was a way to vent mounting anger and frustration at the government, at Boris Johnson himself, over a series of scandals over the past few weeks, really, allegations and reports of parties that were attended by his staff at number 10 last year when everybody was in lockdown. Nobody could spend Christmas with their loved ones, even if they were sick, even if they were dying. People were observing those rules, and those who had set those rules were not. And so there is outrage there. And what this shows is that not only is there growing anger, this is a sign that his authority is diminishing. There are questions about how long Boris Johnson can last. The answer to that is nobody really knows. But there is a by-election on Friday that is considered a safe Conservative seat. If things do not go their way, expect there to be much more chatter about this.
Yeah, it will be a bellwether for sure. Daniele Hamamdjian with the very latest from the United Kingdom. Appreciate it.
Pleasure.